There is this very big issue. What does it mean to be conscious? Right? It's unimaginable that a physical system, like clockwork, could become conscious. How would a physical system become conscious? Something that Leibniz describes, for instance, with a metaphor of a mill. Imagine that your mind was like a big mill of all these moving parts and so on, and you enlarge it in such a way that you can enter it, and you see all these mechanical parts pushing and pulling against each other. There is nothing in there over which feelings and emotion and perception, consciousness could arise. And this is a very strong intuition that also drives Searle's Chinese room argument that I think is a reformulation of Leibniz intuition pump here.
Yeah, so what do you think of that experiment, the Chinese room?
So I think the difficulty is that it's a category mistake to think that consciousness exists at that level. So imagine you are trying to build an artificial agent that is conscious in the same way as you and me are. We cannot do this with a physical system, right? A physical system cannot be conscious, apparently. So you would have to simulate it. You have to make it as if, to pretend to be conscious. How would you do this? You need, for instance, to have qualia. Qualia are the features of experience. There are things like colors and sounds and the relationship between them, and surfaces, and the experience of information flowing through space and being hindered there, pressure and lightness and heaviness and so on, right? And valence, something feels good or bad. And good or bad means that it forces you to leave that state or attracts you to that state and so on. And all these dimensions, these feature dimensions, we can of course implement as basically geometrical models that we can compute with formal systems of our choice. So there is technical difficulty in how to get all these computations right, but there is nothing mysterious about how to make a system that behaves as if it would see colors, right? It's going to not just measure the wavelengths, but it's going to generalize the wavelengths in such a way that it normalizes over arbitrary lighting conditions. As for instance, red is something that passes as red under arbitrary lighting conditions on the surface of an object that is red. And that you generalize this over all the red objects, and then you also get the associations to blood and the flag of the working class, and to roses and love and heat, right? All the rednesses are now one step away from this abstraction of red that can be translated as a feature dimension as part of the simulated experience of a virtual system. And so, of course, this experience is not real. There is not really any physical system that experiences anything. It's only being represented as if it was. It's basically like a multimedia story. It's not written in words in a natural language or in a logical language, but it's written in something like a machine learning language. And then this model is being used to drive the behavior of the agent. It's a control model that is being used to inform what the system should learn and how it should interact with the environment. And as a result, it produces new steps, it produces new model contents. And some of these model contents are, for instance, thoughts. These are not real thoughts, these are as if thoughts, which means there are conceptual and linguistic and ideatic and imagined configurations of such features that give rise to the next set of features, to the next set of thoughts and experiences, right? Again, these are virtual, they're not real. Here is, what if the system would feel something? What if there was a person? What if there were social interactions that would matter to the system? What if that would experience red in a way that corresponds to heat and so on, right? So you build all this into the system and you let it drive behavior, including speech and self-reports, and it gives rise to the next set of things. So this system would be indistinguishable from us, right? Because it's also thinking the same things now. It's producing the same thoughts, it's producing the same story. And it would have emotions and experiences, it would experience phenomena for the same reason that a character in a novel experiences it, because it's being written into the novel by the author. In our case, the author is the mind. And I think the answer to the big question, how is it that we can be conscious in the physical universe, is we are not in the physical universe, that we only exist in that story. We only exist in the dream that's written by the mind. So this is the way it works. It's virtual. Consciousness is virtual. And the experience of realness that we have is not the realness of the physical universe, because the physical universe doesn't feel like anything, right? Reality doesn't feel real. What feels real is only the simulacrum. Only a simulation can feel real to a simulacrum, Realness itself, not reality, is a simulated property. Consciousness is a simulated property of a simulated system. A physical system cannot be conscious, only a simulation can be conscious. Outside of the dream, there is nobody.